There's a video. He was asked by someone to touch the Bible, admitting for 5K that he went to the moon, and he wouldn't touch the Bible. They all saw these things. They came down. Apparently, the craft was smoking, some of them said, right? And some of them did say that these beings seemed to be kind of like, not annoyed, but like running around trying to figure something out. So I don't know if they crashed, and I'd find that weird if they did. But some of them said that. But the rest, they all said, like, when you look into their eyes, one of the kids said, it feels like I knew them from before. Like, they're kind of like family. And then they're projecting not only thoughts and ideas, but images, forests burning, oceans being trashed. And not only that, but emotions, not just thoughts, but images and emotions. And boom, one kid after the next, the same thing. Harvard psychologists came, psych eval them, said they're not. All right, welcome Ethan to the show. If you guys don't know, Ethan has a great TikTok channel about the CIA. He looks through a lot of files, and his work is amazing. So we're just going to pick his mind today and kind of see where things go. So first of all, I saw your video about the drones, and I know your grandpa's in the CIA and you have connections. So like, what's your opinion? Because I find it really interesting because we never have anything fly through our skies like that unmitigated. It's just stuff flying. And then I've seen orbs, drones. I don't know if these videos are real, but orbs turning into orbs, drones turning into orbs, or orbs turning into drones, and then stuff being shot down, stuff coming out into the ground. Like, I don't know, water, liquid. It's weird. It's really weird.
I've seen a lot of those videos. I have absolutely no idea what they are. My grandpa passed about 10 years ago, and he did tell me some really interesting stuff about aliens, but the sources I have now are not. It's a sentence that sounds much more exciting than it is. You know, when I say I have a source, the expectation's up here, and you got to bring it way down here. If I know this stuff, the news will in a few days, and the whole U.S. military probably does too. But when I talked to my source, he said for sure it is not American and from no country on earth, which I don't believe him. He's always given me accurate information, but that just did not sit well.
You know what I find weird is there's all this news coming out about some man. Again, I don't know how verified this is, but some man that works in government says, someone high up that's telling him that this is China or this is Russia. And then someone else says it's us. It's weird. I don't know if they'd let China or Russia do that. I don't. They're talking about nukes missing and a bunch of stuff. But to some extent, I want to believe it's aliens or UAP. But I feel like they're in the sky either way, and I feel like they show up right before things go bad or during war. I've noticed that, and like I've been following geopolitics for a while. China, Russia, stuff in Africa, stuff in the Middle East. And then supposedly they moved nukes, which I don't know about, but I find it weird that like these big things are, and I saw one, I'm in Illinois. I saw one for the first time in the suburbs flying. And it's just weird. They're not just in New Jersey now, they're like in other countries. And that is like peculiar to me.
No, it's bizarre. My coworker, I live in a rural town in Oregon. He followed one from one town to another, and he watched it. He took good pictures and videos. It was in my video from last night. He watched this thing bobbing up and down and then just float away. That was his wording. And he was freaked out. He came to work like, dude, you need to look at these. It looked like a light bar in the sky. And he has videos of this thing. You can see it just going by stars up and down. It was bizarre.
I saw this one account. I don't know, again, if this is true, but one guy said he followed it and then he got a headache and a bunch of weird stuff. And there's something that tells me, like, if we're going to get into aliens, I feel like there's something with aliens and not necessarily even nuclear weapons, but something about nuclear energy. I don't know if that's them, but I've heard so many accounts of, like, the Brazil one in Varginha, Brazil. The guy that handled supposedly the creature, he had organ failure and died. And I've heard other accounts of when you're close to these beings, like, I don't know, people get cancer, stuff happens. I don't know if that's just because they're from another world or what, but I find that interesting.
Yeah, there is a big interest in nuclear power. There's allegedly I mean, I don't. That's kind of a strong word to use in this case. These guys came in front of Congress. Some Air Force vets said that they watched a flying saucer shoot lasers at one of their test missiles that they launched and deactivated the whole thing. And while that sounds crazy, like the Pentagon sent these guys to Congress to talk about this.
This was under oath?
And it
I missed that.
under oath. Yeah, I mean, people who have a career in intelligence aren't ones to just say things to sound cool.
100%.
They have a very cool job and they pretend to be boring their whole life. These guys won't do all this work and then risk prison time to say something just so outlandish like that. There's got to be more to this.
Whoa. They shot down something?
Yeah, I was saying they were shooting the missile with lasers. Like, it sounds crazy, and it deactivated the nuclear missile.
That's why I feel
It was
like
ICBM.
there's something with this, and then they think we're going to destroy our planet. And then there's something you said that I found really interesting about the gateway process, because you said you got into it and you spoke to these orbs and beings, and they told you about the meaning of life. And there was something about us. I forgot if it was something about destroying the planet or that these things interfere at some point. If I remember correctly, if you said that.
Yeah, the gateway process is trippy, to say the least. It reminds me of a DMT trip if you've ever done that before. There's a lot of similarities there, but when I was doing gateway, these things approached me. It looked like a street light off in the distance, just that kind of glow in the dark. And as they got closer, it was like these things can talk to you without actually talking. It's something that's very hard to describe. But yeah, they talked about the meaning of life. They talked about why we're here and how we kind of come here with a purpose. We have things we want to learn. We're more than human.
Would you mind kind of getting into some things about, if you want to, about what they said regarding this stuff?
Yeah. Well, basically, what they said, long story short, was we come here with a purpose, we come here with a plan, but we have free will. And a good way I like to word it is it keeps life interesting. You know, it's a little spice added on top. And sometimes the humanity part of you takes over, and that's when they have to come help. And that was a huge question I never got an answer to. How do you do that? And these things are stern. They speak in poems and riddles. It's a trip, and you really should get deeper into it because it'll change your mind. But it's cool stuff. So there's something for everybody there.
The first time I tried, I took something called Kratom. I was on Kratom.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, so I had a whole thing with that, but it helps you kind of like relax. So I tried listening to the tapes, and that was the first one, I think. And as they were counting down, I forgot which time, like he counts down a few times. When he got to like 7 or 8, I don't know what was happening. I felt myself being pulled up, and I saw like purple stuff, and I heard like lightning or a zap. And then it freaked me out so bad, I was like, okay, no. And I was like, okay,
it does some really weird stuff to your sensory region of your brain. It does a lot of weird stuff. I've had so many things with Gateway happen that are completely unexplainable. And I really do think that there's just kind of a world beyond what we can see, and this is just a way to tap into it. Have you heard about the telepathy tapes at all?
Yes. The
Dude,
autistic
that stuff
kids.
is so cool.
Yeah.
That stuff is so cool.
I believe that 100%. It's like autistic kids can like talk to other autistic kids in a place called the Hill, apparently, and read their parents' minds. And I feel like there's more
crazy.
to that.
Dude, my sister, she works with nonverbal autistic kids like that. This one of them, bites her. You can't communicate with him in any good way. And I told her, I was like, you got to look into this. Try thinking at this dude. And she took it as a joke, but I was like, no, research this. So she's been heavy into it now. Like, might have a new way of communication.
Is it weird? Like, this is all speculation, but I sometimes feel like autistic kids and autism is like an evolution in humanity. Because like a lot of these aliens or so-called beings, you hear about them being nonverbal and communicating telepathically. And I sometimes feel like, because, they have savant syndrome, some of them are really smart. And if they're communicating this way, that kind of tells me that maybe we're all moving towards that direction. And that's kind of where we're headed.
It's an interesting thought. I mean, I'm a little bit autistic. I definitely don't have the power to read people's minds. I wish I did.
Mild
I wouldn't trade my autism out for any amount of money. It is like my personal superpower, and the way the world views autism is like a superpower in itself too. I can go into job interviews, tell them I'm an expert. They'll ask why, because I'm autistic. And that's all you
Ooh.
have to say. They watch those movies where, the autistic guy solves a world banking crisis in like 2 hours and just like eats a donut. And they're like, wow, these people are all geniuses.
I've noticed a lot of you guys have like reading abilities or something special. Like there's something
I can
special
read
someone has.
so fast.
Yeah, that's like, I
That's about
feel
all I
like there's
got.
some evolution. There's something there. Like there's something good about it's not like a lot of like there's obviously like autism to a certain extent, but I've always felt like if these beings communicate telepathically, I feel like sometimes maybe we're headed towards that direction. Maybe they're us in the future. I've thought about that, like no mouth and just communicating telepathically. And then these tapes came out, and then it's like 95% accuracy. And that just blew my mind. Like I've always wondered about psychics. I'm into astrology and psychics, and just I've always wanted to know, like, is it possible for all humans to read minds or like remote view?
I think remote viewing, anyone can do it. I mean, dude, I've tried it. I've had my friends try it, and when we first learned about Gateway, my business mentor told me about it, and this guy owns 3 huge companies in LA. I'd known him for months, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna sound crazy with what I'm about to say to you, but you know who I am, so take it with some weight." Told me all about Gateway. You're gonna speak to beings, and it's gonna be absolutely crazy. And dude, I went in with so much skepticism, and I came out getting slapped in the face with one of the craziest experiences I've had. And after that, I started reading all the CIA files, learning about any research that had been done on this kind of stuff. And the number one callback is always remote viewing. And it seems like something everyone can do. So me and a couple friends, we started testing it out, double blind. We'd have somebody else. Like I went to my neighbor and I said, "Can you write 10 2-digit numbers on this paper and seal it in the envelope?" I gave her $5. I wrote my buddy's name on the outside of the envelope and I said, "Tell me what's in there." He sent me 10 numbers. We FaceTimed when I opened it. 70% accuracy. And he can repeat that over and over and over.
That's
I've tried
insane.
it with him. Dude, I've tried it with him. I've never even been in his house before. I missed my mark, but I drew a perfect picture of his dad's dresser, which was just as weird. I mean, it had
Whoa.
specific little like handles on the knobs and everything. It was bizarre. And it's like, you just sit there and you close your eyes, put on some white noise, something like that, and have your phone time out every 20 seconds, like in your settings on your phone. As soon as that white noise cuts, draw the first thing you see. Like it might just be a line, and just keep drawing it. And all of a sudden you have a picture coming together. It's like your mind knows how to fill the gaps. There's no thinking behind it. There's no intention. You just think about what you want to see. And as soon as the noise stops, just something pops and you just draw it.
Can you go to like destinations? Like, let's say, because I've heard about in the remote viewing program, they asked them to spy. And I know you said that stuff wasn't too accurate, but is it possible to go to a certain place and like see what's going on? What do you think of that stuff?
Well, yeah, and the reason it's not accurate is the same reason I drew my buddy's dresser instead of what was in the envelope, or his dad's dresser. So one of the first remote viewing experiences I looked into, or I guess experiments, I should say, they had a guy in California remote viewing a military base on the East Coast, and this dude drew like an underground level of the base with like all these filing cabinets and all these crazy details that turned out it didn't exist. And the experiment guys were pissed. They're like, "This is the best remote viewer we have, and he's giving us these, bogus results." One of them called the base and said, "Hey, does this exist? Like, we're trying to run this experiment. This is bullshit. We're tired of it." And they said, "No, it doesn't." And then the
Hmm.
remote viewer goes, "You're about to get a phone call." And the phone rings. And he goes, "They're going to tell you I'm right." And it was a top secret level of the base for like classified information storage.
You're talking about under California.
The remote viewers saw it, and the people they talked to at the military base didn't even know it was there. It had to go up the chain before someone said, "Hey, he was right."
Whoa.
It's crazy stuff, dude. Like you can definitely go see things and stuff, but it's sporadic. You might be looking for someone and you're going to find their house next door to them.
See,
That's kind of how the CIA words it.
the gateway stuff is hard for me because it's eerie and it's creepy. And I feel like it's going to take some time to actually get into it. but I want to try remote viewing because I feel like that for me might be easier. I can just lay down and zone out and get myself in that state easier. But what you said about the base, now I don't know. What do you think of Stephen Greer? Because he said something about, I know.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. There's so many people out there that say crazy things, and this guy seems like he has really good information. If his info was that good, I don't think he'd be here.
Yeah, and he keeps talking about them trying to kill him and defame him. Yet, like, he knows these crazy things that he says he knows. Okay, so he talked about, because you said an underground base in Cali. He talked about there being a base. I forgot specifically what he said, but in Cali, this is going to sound so weird, but he says there's a machine where they hook people up and they can kind of connect to UAP or something using consciousness. Like it can extract your consciousness, and it's like a consciousness machine. Now, I don't disbelieve anything, but this man says a lot of things without any proof. But what you said about a base being there, that's kind of why it reminded me of Stephen Greer. I do watch him. Like, it's interesting.
No, it's interesting, dude. I'm gonna go a little off topic here, but my buddy's dad, when I was in high school, my buddy's dad, he used to be kind of a tweaker, and we all thought he was crazy for the longest time. But dude, just me and one other friend saw this. I just talked to him on the phone like a month ago. We were talking about this event. He goes, "I can move the stars with my mind. Some of them are spaceships." And we're like, "Yeah, whatever, dude." You know, his kid was one of the best people we'd ever met. We were happy to be around his dad when he'd tweak out because his kid was so good. And like, dude, I shit you not. He's like, "Look at that star." And me and my buddy both watched it just do this.
Whoa,
And
whoa.
we were like, dude, no, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I've never even talked about that online because I don't want to sound crazy.
No, it's fine. This
and
is
I don't
all
even know what
crazy
happened
stuff.
to it.
It
was bizarre.
Telling
dude.
you, there's. I feel like with being like psychicism or whatever, and just like I feel like there's so much more that we can't see. I feel like most of what goes on we cannot see. Like this weird
there's
stuff.
a world that we can't see. Yeah, dude. Okay, let me go a little deeper for you. There's a CIA file that talks about the relationship between people that show psychic abilities, or they call it precognition in the files, and mental illness. You know, they think maybe schizophrenic people, not all the voices they hear are in their head.
I've thought about that. Go ahead.
Dude, yeah, they had all kinds of experiments where people would get angry and electronics around them would randomly fail. And they started realizing, like, the more we poke their buttons, the more replicatable or repeatable results we have in these lab tests. One kid they kidnapped, kind of. They returned him, but they forcibly took him out of a china shop in like Brazil or something, because one of the guys there had noticed when this kid gets pissed, dishes fall off the shelves, and he had no clue what was going on. They assumed it was the wind, but this guy watched it happen over and over. Contacted someone, the CIA caught wind, and this dude, when he got pissed, they would pour concrete and put metal in the concrete and let it cure. It'd be, super tight, and they'd put cameras on the concrete and the hooks. They'd get this guy mad. He didn't even know what he was doing. He was just in a lab, and they're pissing him off. And it would start shaking the hooks out of the concrete. And then even better, dude, if they don't show you the results, it says see exhibit A, B, and C for like before and after photos, and they're all redacted.
I wonder why. Like, that gives me the answer that I need to know.
It's crazy stuff, dude. There's so much weird stuff on the government's website. People got to capitalize on reading that more. It'll break your mind like 5 times over.
I know someone that is schizophrenic, and that's really weird that you say that, because their phone tweaks out all the time. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. Like it typing by itself, weird stuff happening, it turning off. I've seen it. I don't think I'm crazy, but I've seen it. And that's really weird that you say that. I feel like a lot of things they label as crazy are things they don't understand. And for example, in the past, like to get a little religious, right? So I was raised a Muslim. I'm not too religious anymore, but as I've been growing up, I've been thinking, they talk about demons and angels in the past, and they come down and they supposedly smell bad. They're not beings like biological, like they don't have a meat suit like us. They can come and disappear. And then I've always thought about the fact that what if these things that we called angels and demons are just aliens and UAP? And they're just beings of energy coming here. I've always thought about that. And then with like the schizophrenia stuff, it's like, do certain people have like some connection to these things, or do they have some superpower and we just classify it as crazy because we don't understand it or we're scared of it or because they're different. I don't know.
Well, and that classification of being crazy puts the research of what it actually is at a dead stop too. So, I mean, that's a good point you make. We'd never even know.
Exactly. And like I have another friend who's schizophrenic, and he tells me, so when he sleeps at night, he sees stuff but nothing happens. But I've always thought, like, what if what he's seeing is real and it's just something we can't see, like autistic people, if they can actually communicate with each other? What's to say that that stuff does not exist, especially with the gateway tapes and what you said, like you can remote view and go somewhere and see stuff. That is, I am going to try that tonight.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, dude. You got to text me, tell me how it goes.
I will. So one time, this is many years ago. I've been looking into aliens for a long time. This is probably before I knew what remote viewing was. But there was some website, this is probably like 10 years ago, or even when I was younger. And it told you to go on there, and then there was like something that was mushed up you couldn't see. And it gave you directions on closing your eyes and drawing it. And I remember I got it pretty accurate. And that's the only time I've tried it, which is why I kind of want to try it more, because that works. The gateway stuff is weird, but that worked for me.
No, and gateway feels really unsettling like that. I know I think it's resonant tuning where it's doing that whole.
It's like that's from the first tape. He's like, oh, and then like weird. I don't know. It just sounds eerie. Like he's trying to possess me. I don't know.
It does. I mean, when I first like blasted out in Gateway, it's something hard to word. It's not like you're seeing with your eyes, but you can see very clearly. I mean, I couldn't really word this well if I tried, but how do I word this? I really got to sit and think about it. It's not scary once you get there. It's not scary once you get there. Like you have this knowing of where you are. It feels more like home than you do when you lay down in bed at nighttime. But like one of the first things it told me was be not afraid. And I was like, whoa, that sounds like something out of the Bible. Like that's some weird shit.
That's something I'd want to hear if I was there, because I would be like, whoa.
Yeah, dude, because you don't take the human like part of your mind with you. You know, you might go in like, will I be rich in this lifetime? You know, like all these questions you want to know the answers to, and you get there, and those questions aren't even worth consideration. You wouldn't even think of asking them.
You're in a different
it's
kind
just
of
not
state.
Important. It's like a different you in a way. It's really hard to word.
Now, do you know kind of how long it took to get to the point where you blasted off? Like how much did you have to hear?
About 2 or 3 weeks. It was probably about 14 to 20 hours of listening. Because I did about an hour or two a night. I skipped some days.
Okay.
And I wasn't getting anywhere. I called my mentor and I was like, dude, these tapes relax me a lot, but not much is happening. And he just said, have you seen the blue stuff yet? And I was like, yeah. Like I remember I was doing the tapes a few nights before, and like,
what's the blue stuff?
The color blue like washed over my eyes. Like if you push on your eyes when they're closed, and it kind of brings out color. It was a lot like that. And I was like, yeah, I did. And he goes, keep going. You're almost there. And I was like, all right, dude. And I called him back the next day after I blasted out, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what the hell was that?
Did you feel your body? Okay, so I know that's the kratom because it got me so relaxed, man. I feel like if I took it and I tried, I'd get there really fast. But did you feel like your body kind of being jolted? It's not like physically, but like, you know, when you're you're falling asleep and then you feel your body just kind of being pulled out. I don't know if that's ever happened to your body
like you're
falling. Yeah, like you kind of feel your soul being pulled out.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to that. I mean, it's not right on the dot, but these tapes, dude, they mess with your brain waves. It does a lot of stuff with the sensory portion of your body. You'll feel like you're tingling, you know, you'll feel all these weird sensations. And I think that's just your brain kind of shutting the body down while it stays awake. And you normally feel these when you're sleeping or when you're falling asleep, but you're not so mentally sharp. So you're not going to remember all of it.
Okay. I'm going to try tomorrow to actually sit down and do it, and I'll keep you posted. I think if I really let myself just let it happen, it's okay. What can go wrong? It's okay. I'm not going to see demons most likely, and it'll be fine.
Well, yeah, and just keep yourself safe, you know, do everything the tapes teach you how to do, and you will have I don't want to say you won't have a bad experience, but nothing bad will happen to you.
Well, what I found interesting is you said after you heard the tapes, you said like, it kind of gave you a path as to what was going to happen for the next few months. And things were happening the way you heard. Like, I believe all that. Like, I want that info. That's crazy.
Well, it was nuts. I mean, I had this experience. It felt so much more real than, you would have expected. And I was still struggling with it. I went back in again and it said, "We built you in a way that you won't believe this until you see it." And it started giving me mad specific stuff that would happen. You're going to get forcefully ripped from where you live. Go with the flow. This will work out for you. You're going to lose a close family member, and they're going to leave you just enough to start this new portion of your life. It told me you're going to start waking people up, which is, this is why I'm on TikTok. It said, as soon as you wake up this set amount of people, you will have whatever you want. And it happened. I got ripped from where I live. My aunt passed away. She left me a phone with a 4K camera and enough money to buy a car. It was nuts. All of this stuff happened in order. But there's one thing that hasn't happened yet.
You're the reason I got into the Gateway tapes. And like, it's weird, right? There's like two people I listen to on TikTok a lot. It's you, and I listen to Joe Rogan a lot. And then like a few other podcasts, but something about your stuff like stuck. I really, in my heart, feel like you're just going to explode and things are going to happen. I just feel it. Like the knowledge, the stuff you talk about, it got me to research a lot of things and get into Gateway myself. And I guess you can say you're kind of waking me up, which is crazy. And now we're here talking, which is crazy. Like the way stuff moves, you know?
It's crazy, dude. And I personally see it as, the more people understand this stuff and can kind of tap into that other side of the world, or whatever you want to call it, the spiritual side of things, it makes people be so much nicer to each other and more caring. And at the end of the day, the more care we have for each other, the world will spin better,
Yes, sir. I fully
agree. People hate each other because of color, religion, borders,
people
all
are
this
mean.
Crazy shit.
People are mean, and it's, I'm not gonna say I'm a great person or a good person, but I have a lot of empathy, right? Like I'll do a lot of bad stuff to myself, but I legitimately forget religion. Like I believe in karma, but regardless, I feel bad. I feel like an eerie feeling if I harm or hurt someone, and I try not to. But I feel like there are a lot of people out there that I've noticed that they don't care. And that boggles my mind. And I feel like this info, the stuff you talk about, it needs to spread. And I've always thought not to bring down any religion, but religion specifically, I've always viewed it as a tool to keep people in check to an extent, right? Because heaven and hell,
of course,
you do these things, you're good. Otherwise, you're bad. Now, certain people, I feel like they naturally, if I'm assuming someone like you, right? Like you're just naturally, you know the difference. Like you don't necessarily need that. But I feel like a lot of people still need that. And I feel like the government, that's one of the reasons why we're so tied into religion. And I feel like maybe that's why they're not exposing the fact that there's UAP out there. Because there's the hearings, right? But why not? Like they're always talking about Christianity, which is all good and great, right? But I've noticed that they're so tied into religion, and I wonder if it's something to do with that. And the reason they don't want to expose this stuff is because it can break the idea of religion. And I wonder what's going to happen then. I've researched this stuff for a long time, so I wouldn't freak out, right? I still believe there's a higher power and there's something. I don't know if that's aliens. I don't know if there's something higher than aliens. But the way the universe is made, the way everything lines up, it's a little too perfect for me, if you ask me. It's a little planned, I'm not saying it's God, but it's a little planned. And, you think about it, you're one of the sperm cells out of millions that made it. Now that makes you special. Sometimes I think about it. It's like, how come I made it, and you made it, out of millions? There's got to be a reason. And then you're listening to these tapes and these things are happening, and then I'm listening to you. What do you think about LSD? Because I have some stuff about that.
Dude, that's awesome. I haven't done it since I was 19, but I was a big fan of psychedelics when I was younger, high school and stuff. Who isn't? But I had some deeply profound experiences on that stuff. And when I returned to Gateway, I started seeing a lot of parallels in everything. It's crazy the relation you find with this stuff. Like DMT and Gateway are near indistinguishable. DMT is a wild ride and you don't remember as much of it, but Gateway feels like the same place.
So how would you compare? So I've been scared to take DMT. I've taken LSD quite a bit. I'll get into my first trip and some weird stuff that happened that I wanted to talk about. But before that, how would you, I know DMT is like the dream chemical. So you're literally But how much more intense is it? Because sometimes even LSD
Oh,
can get like, if I smoke on it, it can get me like into a different state, you know?
think about it like this. You're going to experience some really intense stuff, but not have the ability to process it until the drugs are out of your system. You won't be able to feel fear. I mean, maybe you will to an extent, but it is going to take you somewhere else so fast. You're going to come back and be trying to piece together what just happened to you much more than anything else.
So kind of, is it similar to Gateway in the sense that I know people blast off? I'm assuming that's that like whoosh, like you're just like that thing I kind of felt. And then a lot of people experience seeing the same things, like the same beings or hearing the same things. Now, what was your experience? If you don't have to get into it if you don't want to.
Oh, dude, I've done ayahuasca. I'll talk about even deeper stuff if you want.
Cheers. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, the DMT trips I've had, it felt like I entered somebody's home that expected visitors but was not expecting me. And it was weird, you know, I felt like I was welcome, but I was surprising them. And it was like a very awkward feeling. Like, you know how on acid you're with your buddy and like you have all these awkward, weird
Totally
moments?
you feel like you're not a human sometimes.
Yeah,
It's like,
dude. No,
whoa.
it was a similar kind of thing. It was weird. And then when I was so me and my buddies, we took mushrooms one day and we were tripping and he's like, "Do you want to drink some ayahuasca?"
Bro.
And I was like, "Dude, holy fuck." Like, yeah. You know, we were tripping. We weren't thinking like that might not be a good
I
idea.
would not have
or
the
anything.
balls to a good on you.
If you were tripping, you would.
Probably. The first few hours,
I wouldn't
especially.
normally. Yeah, dude, I wouldn't do that if I was sober, but it was incredible. Like I had visions, you know, I was just like, all of a sudden I was in the bottom of a well and there was a snake talking and it just started like spitting all this very universal wisdom. It said, "You're early, but because you're here, I'll make your time worth it." And I literally can't remember anything it told me, which sucked. I woke up trying to write it down.
That's going to come in time.
Well, I think I got a lot of that info when I did Gateway. That was where I started seeing parallels. So like I asked the beings all kinds of questions, dude. I had a whole month where I went in there. I'd prepare questions, like 30 questions, do my best to memorize all of them, and I'd go in there and I would maybe when I'm in there, I would think, you know, 5 of these are worth asking. And I would ask the questions: how does the universe work? Why are we here? All kinds of different stuff like that. And it said it's the shape of a torus, the same shape of the field of our heart, which is true. The electromagnetic field of our heart is a big torus. Told me all these crazy things, and dude, it was just like the DMT trip. I mean, you see the torus when you do DMT. If you look up drawings of what people see on their DMT trips, almost everything is in the shape of the torus.
Now,
it's a trip.
Did you speak to any beings that were non-orb, any certain types of beings? Like, would you describe them
Elaborate,
as anything?
I guess.
So that's, I can't remember, but I saw like videos about, they say they speak to like the certain type of being. And it's like, a lot of people have the same experience. Like they're talking to this being.
Oh, like the little dudes?
The elves or something. They call them the elves or something like that. I don't know if,
Yeah, that's an all right way to word it, I guess. That was what I saw, where I said I felt like I was in their house and they expected visitors, but like not me.
Thing. Okay.
It was a trip.
Okay.
It was like little people,
yes.
like little dark people.
Yes. Okay. So now, isn't that weird, right? So people can disavow a lot of things and say, "Oh, you're on drugs. You're seeing things, blah blah blah, chemical." Okay. First of all, there's chemicals constantly going through your brain. When you sleep DMT, you have dopamine, you have serotonin. What's to say that when you put some chemical in your body or something that alters your brain chemistry, what's to say that's any less real? Like, I find that ridiculous that people talk about that stuff because you have chemicals flowing through you all the time. In fact, when you meditate, the state of mind, when things change, it's chemical reactions, right? What's to say dreaming?
Oh, everything is.
What's to say dreaming is any less real? Because when I dream, a lot of times, like almost always, I don't know I'm dreaming, but I dream every day. If I'm awake every day, I kind of know, but like you feel like you'd know if the same thing was happening over and over. But there's something weird to all of this. It's like a lot of people disavow it because it's drugs, chemical reactions. But to me, I don't see the difference because what is your sober, normal state of mind compared to that? It's just different chemicals, right? But what makes that any less real?
take it deeper and look at people's experiences, dude. You have Buddhists, Taoists, any meditation based religion, the CIA agents that were doing the gateway process, and the DMT people all seeing the same thing when they go into these experiences.
The elves, like
They
you
all talk
said.
about the Taurus, they all talk about the meanings of life and how we keep coming back here. Anytime you look within, you come out with the same answers. It could be like the brain's default, but all of our brains have the same default, yet we are such different people, even at those like very core layers.
Now,
There's no way we're all going to be seeing and thinking the same things, especially with, like cause and effect. We all have different things happening in our lives that will affect the way we view the world. Those things are going to stick around even in that default mode. That's your neural pathways. It's how you have fear. Like you get bit by a dog as a kid, you'll be afraid of dogs and as an adult, even if you don't remember getting bit. Why does everyone default back to the same thing? There's no good answer for me, but there's something else out there.
you know what's weird when you say that is like, I haven't looked into it too much, but epigenetics. So it's like not only your genetics, but like some people are born with certain phobias or certain things, and you don't know why. And as they're researching, they're finding out that, let's say your dad had something traumatic happen to him. Those genes, that experience can mold and pass down to you. Isn't that weird? Because like I get anxious
Oh,
and
it's
stressed at
crazy.
night, and I don't know why. And my dad went through a lot of stuff and abuse, and I kind of feel like it's something to do with that. But epigenetics is, it's weird to me. Like you can alter someone's genes potentially nowadays, and stuff passes down. It's like a weird connection. Like, what are genes? Like, what is all of that? You know what I'm saying? It's just ooh.
Yeah, well, dude, like my dad is like a tank when he drinks. My grandpa was like the tank. I don't even like alcohol, but anytime I drink, dude, I can keep up with my like alcoholic friends, and I always wonder why, and I think it's exactly what you're talking about. It's thanks, grandpa and pops.
Cheers to that. Now, what I was telling you about LSD, right? I don't know if you have any input on this, but it's always been in my mind. And I have some notes that I posted on TikTok, but my phone's recording there. I'll try to remember. But the first time I took LSD, we took, I think, a double dose tab, right? I remember we were sitting in a car, nothing was going on. So we took another and then we smoked. And then I just lost, like, I don't know what happened. It's like first things started moving, and then it's so mental because a lot of people think like everything's morphing around you. It's less of that, it's more of the mind. And I felt my mind open up in a way I can't explain it to you. Like I've taken Adderall, I've taken other substances for fun, right? I can tell the difference between how different things work. There's something about, and I think that was the only time I've had really great LSD. My mind opened up and I was connecting all these dots that I don't remember. Now, I studied finance. I did decently complex math equations. I'm not good at it, but I did it. But I was seeing math equations that, okay, like a lot of people can say, okay, maybe you've seen that in a movie, but I'm telling you, it was so complex and so long, and the stuff was just coming up. There's no way. Maybe I did see it in a movie, which would mean that your mind kind of captures things somewhere. And like, we memorize stuff and you can't pull it out. It takes time. It's either that, which is crazy, if it opens up something where you can just pull that stuff out, or I was seeing things. And the other thing, which is the craziest, I was laying down and I was looking up, and DNA helixes, like the infinity shaped stuff. I was seeing that floating all above me, and it was so real. And I think there were numbers in there. And I can't make that. What is that? I've never seen that. I've seen DNA helixes not like that, not with numbers in it. It seemed like code, and that freaked me out. And then the other thing is, I kept hearing three things in order: an owl going like ooh ooh ooh, and then three knocks on the door. And then my friend was in the bathroom for a long time because he was just out doing his own thing, and I kept hearing the tap turn on for 3 seconds, like psst, and then owls, ooh ooh ooh, knock, tap, owl, knock, tap. I feel like there's some meaning to that. I believe a lot in symbolism, and believe it or not, I can give you some examples as to why I say that. Because stuff that I've noticed, like sometimes you'll think about something pops up, and then that happens. But I just don't understand the symbolism behind owls, the tap, and knocks. And I kind of wonder what it all means, and if gateway or something might tell me more, especially the DNA stuff. Like there was something about that trip. It's just in my mind. I feel like it has some meaning. I just don't know what.
Yeah, dude, do Gateway and ask. It kind of sounds like you were looping, but if it feels so significant, it's worth looking. Me and my buddies looped one time. We were in Santa Cruz. We ordered a pizza and like, it'd feel like 40 minutes had passed. And we're like, dude, let's order a pizza. And then we'd realize we already did. And that happened over and over. It was probably like only 30 minutes long, but it felt like it happened like 90 times.
And the other super weird thing, so you know how everyone talks about fake news now, right? Now that's a term.
Yeah.
So this is probably back in 2017 when I tripped in college. We're like, all right, let's watch something. And then they put on the news and I thought it was comedy. And at that point, the way I was perceiving it, it seemed, I can explain it, but it doesn't do it justice. It seemed so scripted, so acted out, and so comedic. And that's before I knew about fake news. And now all this stuff's coming out, and I've learned so much about how all these different news channels, they talk about the same things. They have the same script. It's all from the top, all these few companies. And it's just crazy to me because when I was on it, before I knew any of this stuff about anything, I spotted that while watching it. It just seemed fake. And that's never happened before. That's why I say it like opens up my mind to like a different perspective, which isn't crazy because that one makes sense at least.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I used to work at a news station, dude.
Whoa.
Three companies and two families own every news station in America, just about.
You said 3 companies?
And 2 families.
Do you know what they are? Who they are?
One of them is the Scripps family. The
Scripps.
company that owned my news station owned, I think, 70 in America was EW Scripps.
That's nutty. I didn't know it was that small.
Oh, dude, it's insane. And it's very controlled stuff. I mean, I can't go too hard into it because I'm sure I signed an NDA somewhere, but like what we would talk about even locally was decently filtered. I mean, the local police had the not authority, but the ability to ask, maybe don't talk about that. And from what I heard, we wouldn't.
So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is interesting, is the simulation. What do you think about us being in a simulation and that this is all some type of video game or created?
I love talking about that so much. So there's 2 good options. One is like we're in a simulation, like a VR game. And maybe that tapping into external things, whatever, the spiritual and psychedelics can unlock for you, is kind of bringing you back or helping you understand where you are. Or it's like a spiritual game. That's what I lean heavily towards.
Like more mental?
No, like think like reincarnation. Imagine if there were just souls out in the universe, right?
Yeah.
What's the best way for them to learn?
Reincarnate. Learn the lessons.
Yeah, go put them through a ton of lives where they have shit experiences and good ones. Live every angle of life. Open up a new spot for the next.
I saw your video about that, right? Reincarnation, and you talked about it. I don't know if you said the beings told you that, but you talked about reincarnating and learning lessons, and that if you are a better person, you help others, you're a good person, you have a better experience in the next life. Otherwise, it's worse. Now, was this told to you in Gateway or through the CIA research, or?
That was Gateway. So that was Gateway. There's some CIA files, like they were trying to find where Dalai Lama reincarnated next. They clearly believe in it, which I found really bizarre. That's a whole other side story, but that was Gateway. And I had this lady. Have you heard of Dolores Cannon?
Yes. Didn't she pass away?
Yeah. So I know this girl so this lady studied hypnotherapy under Dolores Cannon, and she wanted to like hypnotize me for the longest time.
What?
And I was pretty afraid of it. I didn't want to like give my mind up, but dude, I let her do it, and it was like one of the most crazy and profound experiences I've ever had. I mean, I thought Gateway broke my mind, dude. I could barely go to work the next 2 days. Like, I was out there. I work with old people now. I was trying to help old people and do all this stuff, and I was like questioning the existence of life and all. Just it was a rough 2 days.
So I've wanted to get hypnotized for a long time. Who do you go to? How does it work? What is it like? What happened? Because I don't know where to. I've tried self-hypnotizing using those YouTube videos, and all that kind of happens the most. Again, I'm really good at getting into that state, like kind of what you said about the remote viewing state, not like the Gateway process, listening to that, because something about that, I don't know. But if I'm just listening to white noise or I just sit still, I get into that state. And Yeah, so I kind of want to know how to hypnotize myself or where to go, because the YouTube videos only got me to that state where you feel like you're kind of asleep, but you're there, right? I guess hypnotizing, you're not actually fully out, and I guess I was hypnotized, so I felt like I woke up, but like I want to actually like do like past life regression stuff, where I feel like there's more to me and there's more I need to know. Like there's a lot of things in my mind about like discovering stuff that I have to do. Something compels me to want to get into this stuff. I feel like I have to.
Yeah, then you definitely should if you like follow those instincts, dude. Your intuition is like the best tool you have in your handbook and something 90% of the world ignores.
Agreed,
I
very
mean, dude, all
much.
the time people ask me a question, I'll fire off an answer without even thinking. Like, I was at work, he goes, "How many people are in the dining room?" I was like, 34. And he's like, "Did you count?" And I was like, "No."
And I
And then he
believe
goes and
that.
counts 34, dude. I do that all the time. Like, just the first thing that pops into your head is usually right. And when you start paying attention to that and noticing it, it's like the weirdest
Well, I
thing.
feel like you have something extra special because you're autistic, and I feel like you guys.
Maybe I just got a little bit of
I
extra.
100% believe, because I've known other people who are autistic, or what's the other one? I don't know if it's the same thing, Asperger's, or they're within the same umbrella. The kid was super super smart. There's always, I've noticed there's something special. Like again with the nonverbal ones, the nonverbal kids now you're seeing they can do crazy things, and I 100% believe that, because the lady was what, like a Harvard psychologist. And I don't know if this is verified, but what was it, like a 95% accuracy rate in at least one of the tests? Maybe I'm mistaken, but
Well, and the accuracy was repeatable. That's the crazy part. These kids
yes,
could do this over and over and over again.
yes.
I mean, that's unreal. I mean, even me, dude, like I research crazy shit for a living at this point, and like that's unreal work that she's doing.
Now, if I wanted to get into hypnotherapy, do you have any recommendations on how to go about that? Is there someone you go to, or do you do it at home, and kind of the experience
Oh,
of
you
like
most definitely need someone to guide you through it. I used a girl named Sammy Nolan. If you want to plug her or reach out, I'm sure she'd be happy to.
Sammy Nolan? I'm gonna write this down.
Yeah, dude, I'll email you her contacts and stuff too. If
Yes,
you tell her
sir.
I sent you and interviewed, she'll probably hook you up a little bit.
Cool.
But dude, it was incredible. I mean, I don't remember a ton of it. She had to tell me some stuff that I talked about that she wrote down, but I was spitting out, she'll ask, "How did you die? When were you born? Can you remember it?" And I'd start saying stuff. I don't really remember much of this, but I was spitting out historically accurate information. Like I said in one of them, I was like a Japanese woman. I watched my dad die in front of me. It got like really intense. And then I was like part of the reason that like the tyrants died or whatever. I basically like did some political good shit for Japan. She goes, "When did this happen?" I gave her a date and a month, and we looked it up, and it was like when they overthrew the Shogun Empire and like brought the tyrants out of Japan. And I was like, dude, maybe I learned about that when I was in like third grade and it just resurfaced, but it was trippy. Everything I told her that we could look at was historically accurate down to like months,
You know,
which tripped me out.
when you talk about stuff like this, I've watched videos. I haven't looked too much into it, but supposedly there was a lady, and there's multiple instances of this, supposedly, of people who, or kids who suddenly remember where something is, and then an archaeologist goes there and digs around that area, and there's something there. Now, I don't know if this is verified, but I would tend to believe it. And I've noticed a lot of times it's with kids, where, now I don't know if some of those videos are faked, but I don't think they all are, where kids suddenly say, okay, I was this, or I was here in my past life. And it's like, how do you know this? And what's going on? I'm going to look more into the cases where people mentioned they knew something, and actually verify if what those archaeologists dug up in that same area was like matching with what they said. Because that would be crazy, because that kind of
Dude,
provides evidence as
I've
to
done
the
a lot of
fact.
research on that.
Yeah, please give me some info, because that's wild. That's wild.
I had like 5 different cases I found where someone had said like my belongings are under the sand here in Egypt. That's one good
Yes.
example. It was a little girl, and she convinced an archaeologist or like a dude with a shovel to dig. They started digging, and then the dude like hit rock. He started hitting a structure, and they went and got archaeologists. He goes, "My toys are in this corner," and those like ancient children's toys. It was nuts, dude. It's nuts. I mean, my dad went to Europe with one of his buddies, and his buddy, they both went for the first time. I think they got their passports together even. His buddy goes, I've been here before. I've lived here. And then my dude toured my dad around this place. There's a dungeon. There's 3 doors. And then the one on the left goes to a dungeon.
So the Egypt one you said is bro, that's insane. It's crazy. That's evidence. Dude. That's evidence. Do you know where the lady was from?
It's happening to my dad. Like, he hates this stuff. He doesn't hate it, but he's not like an open thinker. And he's like, I can't ever explain what just happened.
Bro, my dad,
like, I'll never be able to.
My dad's like 68, 60. Like, it's a different generation. And he was raised like very, like, you know, like,
yeah,
worked in the mines and then this, that, God, you know, which is all fine and good. But like, he hates, because a lot of times I've even talked to friends and I get into aliens and I get into stuff. And when I really get the roll and the ball going, I've freaked out a friend so bad who's a Christian. And then my dad just like tweaks out and shuts the conversation up. It's like, they don't want to listen. Now, I'm not forcing anyone to believe anything. And again, I am not saying religion isn't real. I think, so the 3 major religions, right? Judaism, Christianity, Islam. I don't know if you know, but we all believe in the same God. Christians believe Jesus is God's son.
I've read like most Bibles.
Yeah, I've read the Quran.
Quran was my favorite.
Hey, cheers.
Good stuff, dude.
But so it's like the same God, and then there's different things, like a prophet in Islam is someone else in Christianity. But there are parallels. Now, we all say it's one God. We all have these certain specific people, and we all have some supernatural stuff, and then beings that show up and things that happen. So what I am going to look more into, and I think there's a connection, is what do all these 3 major religions have in common? Those people and those things. Now, the idea of a God, right? In Islam, at least, I don't know about the other religions, they say the Prophet Muhammad he's the only one that saw like the image of God. And I find it interesting. So I forgot, I think it was him or someone else. I can't remember specifically. The idea is these angels or these beings came down in a cave, and they were bright, very bright beings. And they came down and they were speaking to him in a language he didn't understand. And then he learned Arabic through them, with them kind of like telepathically putting it into his mind. And again, lights coming down. And then supposedly the only image of the idea of God in the religion is a very, very, very shiny thing. It's like blinding. Now, things in the sky, orbs, aliens, lights. I don't want to offend anyone, but again, I wonder sometimes if it was just these things. And there's a painting. I wish I'm gonna put this in when we edit this. I wish I could pull it up. I saw it on TikTok, and you know, all these paintings of like the 1560s where there were all these orbs or something fighting in the sky. There's one from the 1700s. It's a depiction of I think Jesus's baptism, and in there, I don't know if this is legit, right? But like, I'm gonna look into it and put it in. But there's a UFO. Again, this is a depiction from the 1700s, but like, I don't know why they would draw that. A UFO with a light coming down, and all these people like on a hill or something, and him being baptized and the light hitting him. So I've always felt like there's some ET connection to these things, like angels, demons, God, the lights. It's always lights and things coming down. Why in the 1500s were there lights in the sky and it's painted? Why?
Have you heard of a Vimana before?
The what?
A Vimana?
Is that like
from the Hindu religion? The
Hindu, like, is that some type of meditation?
No, it's like the Hindu, like UFOs and stuff. They're all over old paintings.
I did not
same
know
stuff
that,
you're
bro.
talking about. Every religion has these. Every religion almost tells the same story. I loved
the UFOs, the orbs.
Talk about that too. A lot of them have orbs. I mean, even the Christianity, dude. Ethiopia is the only like place that has a pretty unwashed Bible. King James Bible has like 15 books they took out of it. The Ethiopian Bible has pretty much all the originals. If you read the 2 books of Enoch, he talks about like flying orbs that come down and like take him into space and stuff. It's like, it's undeniable.
Do you know what time frame that's from?
No, you'd have to look. I think it was like 100 or 200 years after Jesus died.
Okay, that's a really long time ago. You're saying it's written down that there's orbs.
Yeah, oh no, dude, it's from like the OG Bible. Like that used to be the old Christian Bible, and the King James version, like this dude took so much stuff out of it. There was also the secret book of John, which talks about like the whole human creation story, and it lines up a lot with like the Sumerian creation story, which is our oldest human history we have.
So what's the Sumerian creation history? So I know about the Adam and Eve book and Earth resetting, but what is the Sumerian story?
The best way to think about it is like God made tons of different beings, right? They believe in a central God too.
I
A
agree
lot of
with
them
that.
call him the One. And some of these beings were called the Anu, and they screwed up their atmosphere with whatever, and they needed gold. Earth has a ton of gold. And that part's a little wishy-washy. The tablets are not complete, but the rest of the story goes they came to Earth, they found a cave-dwelling species of hominid, and they intermingled their DNA together and made a more modern human, which is cool because we have this weird, mysterious split from Neanderthal to human.
I wanted to talk about that, like the missing period of history, and the scientists talk about if people talk about evolution, but the fact that I don't know if this is a word, but we evoluted so fast, it's like that's not normal, bro. Like now I've seen videos
No,
of
it's
monkeys
not.
running right now and stuff, right? But I feel like there is some other DNA in us, and that's crazy. You know what? I think I saw your video about that. So they came down, they intermingled, and then wasn't there something about them being banished?
Yeah. So they weren't supposed to do that kind of creation. So a lot of them got banished, and a few of them liked us enough to stick around. And their symbology was like, Venus, the sun, the moon,
Now,
all the kind of standard stuff you see in these religions. But like, dude, their story of the Tower of Babel is insane. It was like the humans were getting too advanced. We needed to confuse them and cut their lifespans. So in the Sumerian version, they put caps on our DNA. If you look into caps on DNA, humans are the only ones that have them, and it's now something that you can use to kind of predetermine like when you would be at risk to start getting life-threatening diseases.
you can map that stuff out.
Yeah. That's the reason there's even articles about it. Like there's a big concern that health insurance companies are going to start using these DNA strand caps to figure out like when we'll die, and that would adjust our life or health insurance rates. Because when these caps get to their end point is when you're going to start getting cancer and different diseases. It's nuts.
You talked about like them being banished, right? Like these beings that commingled, let's say, with past humans. Now, this whole story about Adam and Eve. Now, I don't know if this is in the Islamic version or what version, but from what I remember is one of them ate the apple, right? And they weren't supposed to, and they were banished onto Earth as punishment and something along those lines. Am I correct?
Yeah, dude, you got to read the Hidden Book of John after this. It has like a totally different version of that story. It's really cool. Yeah, so in that version, like, there's the one God, he makes his daughter makes something, and like what's his name? Yaldabaoth. It's a weird name. But this dude masquerades around as a god. He starts trapping souls into human bodies, keeping them in the Garden of Eden, and then like in the Hidden Book of John, it said like Jesus got sent by God as the snake in the Garden of Eden to give people their free will and help them remember what they really are so they can escape. And if they don't figure it out, they're going to live again and again and again until they remember.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, dude, it's a trippy read. That's a cool book to read. It's bizarre.
Does that kind of connect with the whole Anu thing?
Yeah, pretty well.
That's why I feel like it's really weird, like the Adam and Eve story, like biting the apple and then being banished onto Earth, like they were banished and punished, and then like being stuck here. That's crazy to me. What if I feel like there's like, that's why I say like these certain books, certain things, when you find similarities in different books, that tells me there's some reality to stuff where things commingle with each other. And now with Christianity, right? I'm not too knowledgeable, but I know like I have friends, most of my friends are Christians, almost all, but like, there's the Old Testament and the New Testament, and a lot of people follow the New Testament, but in my mind, wouldn't you want to follow the oldest of the books? And
Yes,
what is?
But the God in the Old Testament is a tyrant, dude. He is like an evil motherfucker, if you ask me. I mean, he does these terrible things, floods the whole world for, It's insane. And then you go look at the New Testament and it's Jesus literally contradicting everything that God before had said. God said eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, foot for a foot. Jesus shows up and says, turn the other cheek. It's a gnarly set of differences. And I think like that lines up with the Anu story and it lines up with the hidden book of John.
I personally would tend to believe like the older versions, right? Now, the fact, if these are revisions, now I don't know what it is, why it happened. Do you think they tried changing the story, or like you're saying God was a tyrant in that version? Like, why do you think they made the new version? And then like, do you think they're trying to hide something with the whole story of religion? Because I want to go back as far as possible and know like the origin story before things were changed. Because I find the changes really weird, and then people interpret things differently. Even for the Quran, people interpret and write their own versions. But I want to know what they said in the oldest of old versions.
And that's actually why I liked the Quran so much, is because in other Bibles it's always an interpretation of what God meant, but Prophet Muhammad said it how it is. God spoke through him, so you could take it more at face value, and I always liked that a lot. But dude, you just go read the Ethiopian Bible. It's like I said, it's mostly unwashed, but the whole story together makes sense. Enoch getting taken away, the hidden book of John with Jesus being like, basically there was a fake God, and that was the God of the original Bible, the one that said eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. If someone hurts you, you hurt them back. Jesus got sent by the real one, they call it the one in that book, to help kind of teach people the right way to do things. And I think that makes sense on why there's so much contradiction from Old Testament to New.
Very interesting that they would.
Dude, it's so interesting.
And like update it. That's what I find like peculiar. Now, so what do you think about the planet Nibiru, which you've talked about, that supposedly circles the Earth once every 70,000 years supposedly, and
something like that, or 3,000, some large number.
So wasn't this like some ancient people that mentioned Nibiru? Do kind of?
Yeah, that's the Anu story. That's where they came from.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
and I mean, we haven't found it, or at least the public doesn't know that if it's there. I don't know. I can't.
I don't trust a lot of what they say.
I think it'd be
so.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if it was real. And just like, I want those drones in New Jersey to be UAPs, but I really don't know at the end of the day. But dude, if that planet's real, that could easily be the reason the dinosaurs are gone.
I was thinking
it passes through the Kuiper Belt, right? So when it comes back through the Kuiper Belt with its gravitational field, it's going to sling tons of asteroids into our solar system.
Now, with Nibiru, is that set to be the home of these beings or these aliens? Is there some connection here?
Yeah, Nibiru came from the Sumerian mythology.
Okay.
They're the ones that invented that.
And they wrote about this stuff.
Dude, these guys knew about Pluto. You can't see Pluto with your naked eye anywhere on Earth. And these guys knew about Pluto. They knew the order of our planets in the solar system and had them carved into rock, like very close to actual scale. Besides the sun, because it's so big, it would be massive compared to the carvings of Earth. But these guys knew our whole solar system down to Pluto, and then way out there is Nibiru, the 9th planet, I think is what they called it.
If they actually don't know, which I don't know if they don't, but if it were to be there, I'd understand why maybe we wouldn't know about it, because it has an elliptical orbit, but yet we're looking far out into things. So I feel like if they did, they probably looked into it. This is what's weird. All right. I don't want to sound too nutty. And I used to never believe that the moon landing was fake, right? Like this goes now we're stepping into, okay, flat Earth, you're nutty, like really nutty. Where's the evidence, right? Moon landing. I still don't, but there's a video. He was asked by someone to touch the Bible, admitting for $5,000 that he went to the moon, and he wouldn't touch the Bible. I wrote down his name. I forgot. It's in one of these notes.
That's something I purposely have never looked into.
Yeah, I never. It popped up because I still don't know if I believe. That's like a little too cuckoo for me. But when the man wouldn't touch the Bible for $5,000, I found that extremely weird. Extremely. Now that's
there's a lot of weird stuff. NASA supposedly lost all of the technology to go back to the moon. They say we could not do it right now if we tried. That's
You're
weird.
making my
And
mind
there's a
run.
lot of political motive for us to get to the moon before Russia back then. I mean, the space race was a real thing. I'm not saying anything. I have not researched this, but I find that so fishy right off the bat.
So this is Neil Armstrong refused to swear on the Bible. It's on video.
Bizarre.
Yeah, he was being pushed by the guy. Hey, and he's like, no, that's not a real Bible. And he's like, oh, this is a real Bible. Just touch it and say you went to the moon. He's like, oh, you're embarrassing yourself. This isn't a real Bible. And then now a lot of people say a lot of stuff about Buzz Aldrin, right? Now you have to consider the fact that these people who supposedly, if they went to the moon, they're psychologically tested and evaled like crazy, right? Like, because if you're going to be up there, you have to be evaled like physically, mentally, whatever. Buzz Aldrin said a lot of weird stuff too. And I don't think he said he didn't go on the moon. I don't remember. But him or one of the astronauts mentioned hearing knocks in space and that there being things on the moon and weird things. Now, these are astronauts. Like, yeah, they're old. You could say, oh, he has dementia. But I don't want to completely disregard these people, especially when the man, now, if he's religious and he wouldn't touch the Bible, it makes no sense to me not to for 5K. I would do it. And then Buzz Aldrin, which he is eccentric right now, but the man must have been very intelligent during his time. So just because someone's old doesn't mean, and if they act different, doesn't mean that they're wrong. Now, the man is saying, I think it was him, but saying hearing knocks up there and weird sounds, and there might be potentially things out there. Like, you tell me, that's these people themselves are saying it, and everyone's calling them crazy. Come on, I don't know.
You
bro.
can't say dementia just makes you lose your mind. I work with old people every day. Like, they are still super sharp. I mean,
Yes.
there's one guy at my job. He thinks it is the 1950s all the time. He's talking about, the war just ended, all this crazy stuff. I was talking to him and he's talking about how it's so good Reagan's back in office. And I'm like, yeah, just kind of giving him a nice conversation so he has something to be happy about. And one of the nurses walks by and I didn't even notice this. He goes, are those new pants? And she goes, yeah, I can't believe you noticed. He goes, they make you look like a fat ass. And I was like, oh my God.
They tend to be so very open-mouthed. But you know what I really like about you, bro?
But he was sharp.
Yes, you spot that. Like, see, most people that I've talked to, they like, someone's good or bad, stupid or smart, right? You are able to discern the fact that someone can be stupid or dumb in certain regards, yet be very smart. Yes.
Yeah, dude.
That's the thing. Now, people are going to use anything to disavow anything. That's why it drives me insane sometimes. Like, why wouldn't the man touch the Bible? Like, maybe there's some other reason, and again, I believe in a lot of crazy things, right? Not flat earth, not the moon landing stuff. With aliens, yeah, but I am a pretty evidence-based guy. I can't pull up everything because like a lot of it's in my brain, but I've been researching the subject for so many years, right? So a lot of it is evidence-based, and I'm a very fact-based guy usually. And I 100% believe. Now, I'm not going to say, okay, I'm kind of going to say, I think most people that disagree are stupid. I'm sorry. Like, if you hate on someone for believing something like this, I think that's stupid. Because I'm not saying everyone, right? But a lot of people like make you feel like you're crazy for believing this, when I think it's extremely improbable, with space being how big it is, that we're the only beings here. Like, there could be even orbs could be beings. It doesn't have to look like us. But how can you just completely disregard the fact that there could be other things out there and think we're so special? We're on this ball, right? If you think about it, have you ever gone outside at night, laid on the hood of your car on your back and looked up? It is trippy.
Oh, dude, I stargaze all the time in a hot tub. I see weird stuff.
Especially if you lay down, so you can't see anything around you but sky. You realize I'm in space. I'm not inside the earth. I'm in space, on the ball. I'm on the ball, on top of the ball. Yeah, there's an atmosphere, but I'm on top of the ball. And that kind of like does something. It's like, whoa, like, is any of this that serious? Is any of the stuff we worry about that serious? Why don't people open up their minds to there being things? Because in Islam, right, we have jinns. My family is pretty religious, and they're like, they talk about jinns and stuff, and like how, like, my grandparents heard stuff walking around on the roof. They saw stuff, people tugging on their pants, like weird mischievous things. To me, that seems like ET or some type of being. I would tend to call them ET if they're not from here. Demons, angels, because they can be good and bad just like us, right? They can be good
Of
and
course.
bad. The red eyes in Varginha, Brazil. Demons, red eyes. Varginha, Brazil, documented, red eyes. The smell, they smell bad, like sulfur. What is that? Demons, angels, smell bad. There's so many connections, bro. And that's why I feel like religion, they're trying to hold on to religion for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just weird. Like with disclosure and everything, Stephen Greer, again, take it as you will, saying this info is going to come out by Jan 20th. There's secret programs. Now, why do you think the aliens, if they are there, haven't shown themselves? Because my thing is, these Indian tribes, I forgot, somewhere off the coast of India, there's a very famous uncontacted tribe where missionaries have tried going. I can't think of the name right now, and they were killed because they don't want.
I've seen a documentary about that.
Yeah,
I think a long time ago.
So that same tribe. Now the thing is, they get harmed because like we bring diseases, right? That they are not exposed to. So let's say we brought bananas. Like the guy came in with some bananas. Next thing you know, a bunch of them died. They're gonna think we're trying to hurt them. I feel like that's very similar to what happens with ET when people get hurt. Is there's something that they're bringing here, and I think they observe us a lot of times. This is my theory. I want to know yours, but my thing is like, just like we fly drones over these tribes, bro. They see it. They're pointing their arrows up. I think we're them. We're pointing our satellites, our telescopes. Whoa, look up there. Whoa, they're just flying. They're observing. Let's see how they transform. We're not going to touch them. We want to see how they evolve and where they end up. That's what makes most sense, because otherwise I feel like they would have been here by now and been like, hey guys, look, I'm here. Like, I wish they came to me, bro. Like, come on, show yourself, just not at night, during the day, preferably, but yeah.
Less spooky that way. There's a lot of cool stuff. I personally think they've been around since before World War II. Mussolini has files, the old dictator.
Yes, sir. Italian.
He has files about, he has files about recovering one of those. America had the Roswell crash. My grandpa told me that happened back in the day.
So you think Roswell is ET and not our craft being reverse engineered and falling, right?
No.
Okay.
Roswell was most definitely ET.
I agree.
Because read the files on the CIA website. There's one page called the Guy Hoddle memo. I'll text it to you if you want.
Yeah, please.
It says we recovered 2 or 3 saucers and bodies that were like 3 feet tall.
Ooh.
Like human shaped, but 3 feet tall, wearing, blackout suit kind of stuff, but of a material we couldn't figure out what it was.
You know what's peculiar? They're always wearing those tight suits, right? Black or silver, tight, like suits, like liquid, like think of liquid metal, like really tight suits.
Yeah, that's exactly what it said. And then those kids in Africa, have you heard about that?
Yes,
like 60 different.
I made a video about that. Yeah.
Same exact description, dude, down to a T. Same clothes.
Now, I personally don't believe in mass hysteria, all right? I don't believe in it. Now, if you're saying 60, 70 kids, 60, 70 kids, they all saw these things. They came down. Apparently, the craft was smoking, some of them said, right? And some of them did say that these beings seemed to be kind of like, not annoyed, but like running around trying to figure something out. So I don't know if they crashed, and I'd find that weird if they did. But some of them said that. But the rest, they all said, like, when you look into their eyes, one of the kids said, it feels like I knew them from before. Like, they're kind of like family. And then they're projecting not only thoughts and ideas, but images, forests burning, oceans being trashed. And not only that, but emotions, not just thoughts, but images and emotions. And boom, one kid after the next, the same thing. Harvard psychologists came, psych eval them, said they're not lying. It's crazy to me, bro.
Dude, they had a journalist that spent time in war zones that could not be there because it was so traumatizing for him to see how disheveled these kids were. This dude spent time in war zones and he could not talk to these kids because they were so freaked out. But like, dude, I think the UAPs, the aliens, whatever they are, there's a huge connection with that in Gateway. It takes you to the same place. All living biologics have to have the ability to go there. Because like the way you just said, you look at them, you know them. It's like they think these things at you. That's you know how I said it's hard to explain how you like communicate in Gateway. It's a lot like that. Like
same with
let
LSD,
you know something.
Like the feelings and the thoughts, like you can explain it, but you can't really to the fullest extent because there's something more to it. Like you're in a different state.
We don't have words for it.
Yeah, which is interesting. But I wonder why these things randomly come down and they pass on these images, but they don't show themselves. Like,
Oh yeah, dude. We got way off topic.
oh,
So
it's all good. I
we
like
made a
it.
deal with. I think we made a deal when the Roswell crash happened because we made the insane jumps in technology, dude. Figured out, the vacuum tubes, I think, or computer microchip, pacemaker for the heart, fiber optic cables. We put a satellite in space. We put people on the moon. We made the Chevy Corvette, which is definitely not from aliens, but still really cool. But we had these insane jumps. I mean, we made birth control pretty quick after that crash. And while that doesn't seem really crazy, we found a pill that turns off the one thing human bodies are meant to do. I think we traded something for something. And there's got to be a reason that the government, I mean, they just came out and said, we lied to you guys for 80 years in that congressional hearing. They said aliens are
They're
real.
always lying.
But they wouldn't show us or tell us what they looked like. But as they've been telling us and said we actually did lie, these sightings around the world have been ramping up like crazy. It really makes me like the government is full of smart people. I hate to admit it.
No, I agree.
They do
some
smart
of the smartest
things.
people.
Even they make themselves look stupid doing something smart. They're good at what they do. They would not say they lied without one of such a good reason.
Now,
there's no way they would do that.
Do you think they will show themselves at some point? Why are they trading tech? And is that I wonder, if I was them, would I be like, oh, let's go to the president of the United States? Which another interesting thing, remember the things flying over the White House a few decades ago that was documented in the newspapers? Weird.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I remember that.
Weird. What happened to that? Now, again, right? I've looked, if you go through my videos, I've looked at every potential perspective. I never fear-mongered with these drones about the nuclear weapons. I don't think it's that. Now that, they're talking about a testing corridor between Delaware and New Jersey. That's been confirmed to not be going on right now. It's not that. The guy, there's a guy that confirmed it. And then he called NASA too. And he also confirmed that it's not NASA. So it's not that testing corridor. I looked at the most rational perspective. There's this guy on TikTok called That Intel Guy. He's very rational, a little too rational for my liking, but I follow him. It annoys me, but I need to hear that side. So it's not that. Now, it still could be us. Now, they're saying it's not the DOD, right? One thing they haven't said, at least that I'm not aware of, they haven't mentioned that it's not our private companies, that the DOD or someone could be funding. They said it's not the military, not the DOD. Pentagon said it's not me. NASA, not us. No testing corridor, nothing like that. No foreign adversary. And yet you'll notice, pay attention to the words and things they use. Biden kept saying, I think, blah, blah, blah. Tells me he's not fully sure himself, right? If you watch the speech he gave, his words were not too affirming. Now, if someone at the highest level isn't too sure yet, they're saying it's not a threat. But at the same time, they're saying we're deploying assets to check these things out. State police are asking for authority because the authority for this stuff is with federal police. They're not giving authority to state. I feel like they don't want people to know something. Now, why wouldn't they give authority to state to check these things out, try to bring them down? At the federal level, they're saying it's not a threat. And they've also said these things are flying legally, flying over military bases legally. Yet suddenly you put a ban, right? Suddenly you put a ban, and there's not Air Force bases, some of these air bases, I can't think of the names, that have come out and in statements, bro, this past week, they said, we see things in the sky and we don't know what they are. We're trying to protect our assets. So they don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff. They're twisting and turning. With this, the only rational thing I can think of is DOD or some other department funding private drone companies. Yet I think it would be insane for them to do something. There must be some extremely bad compartmentalization going on, something extremely bad, worse than 9/11 for this info not to be passed around. Now, no one seems to know, and I've looked at all possibilities. Now, my bias is I want to believe there's UAP, but the only other thing I can think of is private companies. But it just doesn't make sense to me. And again, I really pay attention to their words. I think it's not a threat, but the military base doesn't know what it is, won't give authority to the state police. We know they're coming out from the ocean. Trump says they know where these things are going in and out of. Yet Trump says he won't visit Bedminster, New Jersey.
You think they're sniffing radiation?
I don't think so, because
I hope they are.
So I have no doubt that there are threats, right? I used to be very liberal, and I wouldn't say I'm not a Trump fan or a Kamala fan, right? too nuanced. You're
It's
never
all
going
a
to see me
game,
pick a
dude.
side, and these are all politicians. And there's some things I like about either or, but Kamala to me, just I'm not going to say anything. Trump, I feel like his last term, when I was super liberal and I didn't know anything, I was in college, I used to hate him. But like looking back at his last term, I think he did pretty good. But I think he's changed now, the way he comes around, and the people he's talking to, and the way he's acting. Now he's taking funding from different sources. He's saying one thing, Biden's saying one thing, the military's saying one thing. They're giving us the runaround. Like, again, I try not to be too conspiracy, bro, but I've looked at all the angles. I've spent like a lot of days looking into this with the drones. Only thing that makes sense is our military funding private companies, or there's something else in the sky, which again, very unlikely, but people underestimate Iran. Like they keep blaming China, Iran, Russia, which could be them. People underestimate these countries. Iran is extremely powerful and extremely strong. They're bombing Syria. They're bombing Lebanon. Why do you think they won't touch Iran? There's a reason. There's a reason they won't touch Iran. Iran is extremely powerful. Russia, everything you see in the news,
have
propaganda.
Most of our old fighter jets too.
Yeah. And dude, they have
they got
everything
F-14s
underground.
and stuff.
If you look at Iran's like military page, constantly, dude, advanced, like full, everything deep underground, missiles, roads, everything. Russia, we don't mess with them. China. So what, like, I don't know, but something tells me there's more to this. Now, I'm not saying it's UAP, but I think it could be UAP coming to spot it out because something's going on. But I'm not sure. I don't believe their official narrative. That I do think it's not a threat, but I don't think they fully know, or maybe I don't know. What do you think?
Same thing, man. I have no idea. My source, like, again, if he tells me something, it's been on the news in a few days. I almost wouldn't call it a source because, like I said, it sounds way too exciting. But he's fed me accurate info on UAPs for the last 4 years. It's not some dude on the internet. I've met him in person. I've hung out with him a lot, you know? A lot of people have government positions where they just know stuff, or military positions. You know, it's not as unheard of as you'd expect. They're briefed on things that are important to their job. He always told me stuff, you know, in a few days, this will be out on the news. He swears it's either another country we have a ceasefire with,
Israel,
their UAPs, or their UAPs we had a ceasefire with and are now doing their own thing. And I said, what about our government? What if they're us or a private contractor? And he goes, no, definitely not. That made me think like it's probably us. I mean, he's got clearance for a reason, but
it makes sense because they're flying over our airspace.
It didn't sit right with me, dude. Yeah, it didn't sit right. I mean, we've shot satellites out of space with fighter jets, and we're letting these things parade above cities, sensitive military installations, airports. Dude, not a chance. We have sent the whole Air Force after a Chinese spy balloon, like 5 fighter jets.
Yeah.
There's no way. Citizens are shooting at these things with like ARs. I have a lot of videos on my phone because it's funny. And then the FBI is arresting them, which it is illegal to do that. But still.
Now, have you seen the orbs? Like, I don't know if these videos are real, but these orbs are turning into more orbs. And then the one that I find interesting is they seem to be like dropping something. I don't know what's going on. It's just
like water. I've seen that.
Yeah, like,
or like
some
a vapor.
liquid.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
So that is really, 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 really weird.
Concerning.
Yes.
Yeah.
That points me to some direction.
Dude, they're in rural Oregon. Like, I don't want to give away where I live, but like I live in a town with like less than 5,000 people in it. It is tiny and it is a long drive to like proper civilization. We have 2 small grocery stores and they're here.
Wait, well, you've seen them there?
Dude, my coworker was following one around in his car 2 nights ago. Yeah, it was. I mean,
is it the big drones?
He showed me pictures.
The big red and green ones, or the orbs?
No, it was like a bar of light. Like I'll send you the pictures. It was like literally imagine if you had like a line of light, like an inch,
like one of those
like
like big light bulbs in the, like, you know, on the ceiling.
Yeah, like a light bar.
Okay.
And he followed this thing from one town to another. They're like 30 minutes apart. He was driving somewhere. He turned his car around because he loves aliens. He started following it. He's taking videos in his car. He's sticking his phone out of the car window so you can tell it's not a reflection in the glass. He got out of his car and he watched it just bobbing up and down. And then he said it kind of just turned and just left. Like, didn't seem effortless. It didn't speed up or slow down, and just uniformly just went boom.
Did he come out and get close to it?
He said it was almost right above him. And I mean, dude, I was pissed. Like, he didn't call me because I live in the middle of a forest, dude. I would have had a good view. There's no light pollution.
I'm really curious if he says he had any symptoms, like, because the person I was talking about that supposedly said he went out and he chased this thing, he had a bad headache afterwards. And there's another lady, this one I wouldn't believe, like, she talks a lot about, actually I saw her video of there's something being in the sky, and she says that, like, she gets a headache and stuff when these things come near. Now I don't know how true her one is, but I find it interesting, and I wonder if he felt anything similar. I'm not sure, but I'm not in Chicago. I'm close. I'm like 45 minutes, right, in the suburbs. So I am not too sure, but I was driving maybe like a week or two ago home, and I saw what I think was one of those big drones, just one. Now I know the difference between a plane and a drone and a star, and it was low to the ground, and I saw other people in the cars beside me kind of looking and trying to point up their phone. I don't know if anyone caught anything. We were in traffic. But supposedly they've been seen in Germany. They've been seen in France. And again, what's weird is, like you said, it could be allies, right? These are allied countries, Germany, France. But if it's sniffing for nukes, why are they being seen over there? But the one main connection is allied countries. What is it? I don't know if our allied countries know, but it's, again, if you just look at what Biden said, whatever you think of Biden, right? I'm sure he gets briefings. The man did not sound sure at all. Trump sounded more sure.
I know the video you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
It was like, dude,
he shouldn't probably
be. It feels like they're pissing on our backs and then telling us it's raining outside.
Yes. It's insulting. But then why?
It is.
Why in these other countries? And okay, so there's also another story. I don't think this is too recent, but I think within the last few years, there was I don't know if it was our U.S. Navy ship or I think it was a German Navy. I forgot the name. I should have written this down. Some country's Navy ship docked in Germany, and they were being protected by the German military, and supposedly like a 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter drone came up above it, and with all their tech, they couldn't do anything. Now, what I have heard is we have technology, because you know how they're worried about, we can't shoot these things down because New Jersey is the most populated area. So they've come out and said we have technology. So what Lou Elizondo was saying, how these drones work is they're emitting radio signals. So you have a controller and they can't go too far. But if you can interfere with the radio signal, you don't have to bring it down. You can control it and steer it away. So the theory that they're afraid to bring it down because of humans doesn't make sense to me. Now, he did say this would have to be, if it's a foreign adversary, a very elaborate operation, because you need a lot of stuff out there, controllers to control these drones. Now, if these are flying, our drones, he says, especially these big ones, they'll fly 15, 20 minutes max. These things are flying for hours. Where's the controllers, right? If there's ships off the coast, you need something to control it. So I don't believe it's foreign adversary. We can drop them
out of the sky. Look at in Ukraine and Russia. They're doing drone warfare, and because of jamming, they're attaching fiber optic cables to the drones, and they can only fly so far before it'll snap the cable, so they can't get jammed. And also, when has the government actually cared about its people? If they were a threat, we'd be dropping them no matter what. We just tell people to evacuate first. I mean, so
the rational thing to me is, right, okay, so foreign actors, they'd have to be off the coast to control these things, unless they have some really advanced tech where across the world they can. But then how do we not interfere with their radio frequencies? Either we have or we haven't. So again, that does lead me to believe it's ours and it's really advanced tech. But why would we be parading that for the world to see if it's ours? You probably wouldn't want to do that unless you're trying to send a message. Now, I have said, so there's this really interesting video, right? It's called The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. And he says that every 250 years, an empire falls. And he predicted that the US is next. And I've always said, I feel like we're going to, whether we fall or not, there's going to be a big bang. I feel like something's coming up. So I wonder if this is related to that, like flexing or testing. It's not the testing corridors, they say. So I just don't know. It's like really confusing me.
Well, and something I just thought of too is like the government is clearly getting people ready for the idea of aliens being out there. I mean, this is going on YouTube, right?
Yes, sir. YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and wherever else. I'm going to get this edited nicely, and we're going to have.
Let me find a clean way to say this. People are so religious. If aliens are real and it ruins their way of thinking about the world, they might unalive themselves en masse. It makes sense to get your people used to it very slowly. This could easily just be weird shit in the sky to kind of condition people. I mean, again, there's no reason they'd tell us they lied for 80 years and have this huge distrust in the government by its people unless they had a plan behind it. Or there's idiots running our country. But
I think it's
as much as I want that to be true, they're not idiots. I want it to be true, but they're not. So there's something behind it.
Do you think it could be slow drip exposure to things?
Yeah, I mean, it seems likely, dude. I mean, if you look at it, like sightings didn't get media coverage until like a year before the government first said, like, "Hey, these are real." That's when the media started covering it.
You know what's interesting?
Like crazy,
the congressional hearings, and then like this happened last year too, around December. Like not as big, but I think in some Air Force base or some military base, they said for a few weeks or something, or a few days, a swarm happened. Langley, yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Around this time, right? New Year's last year. And supposedly they said they'd be prepared. So again, with all this stuff, bro, and the orbs in the 1500s and these other times, first of all, I'm sure there are UAP out there, but I've tried to be so rational. If you look through my TikTok, I've looked at all these perspectives, even the most rational ones. And now even that guy, that Intel guy, has admitted he was wrong. And it's like, either really advanced tech, but why would you show it? But I think there's UAP out there, and I think geopolitically, I don't want to fear monger, but something weird's going on, bro, because they come when we want to start nuclear warfare, and there's all these theories that we're moving nukes to UK to be closer to Russia. Russia is moving things to the border of other countries other than Ukraine, and things are getting crazy, and I'm just connecting these weird dots, and I don't know. Like I want to agree with you, and I want to fully say that these drones are ours. I think the big ones are, but what about the orbs, bro? You see the orbs, and
I was thinking that like 10 minutes ago. I was like, well, that didn't explain the orbs at all. I don't know what those are. My followers send me some crazy videos of those things. I put one in my video last night. It looks like a shooting star, but it goes like up and down and left and right, and then just fades.
I've posted videos of
what the hell
of orbs like blowing up, like something shooting and blowing up, and then orbs turning into orbs and orbs turning into drones. Now, I don't know if like we're using some holographic something. I swear, bro, I saw orbs turning into drones. Orbs turning into drones.
Dude, it wouldn't surprise me. Like the world is so weird. That technology, dude, one of the first things like that source told me about UAPs was he said they mimic our technology like crazy, and anytime you see one out there, it is for a specialized purpose and it will not be used again. They're all specialized for what they're going to do. So like I talked to him about the drones and I said they're using FAA regulation lighting. That is not a UAP. And he goes they mimic us. And the whole thing felt like BS, dude. But the orbs, that adds like a whole new side of the story, and it's hard to even speculate when you don't know what they are. Like you can't dive into a motive if you don't even know what you're looking at.
Now, do you think that these beings are aliens, if these are that, and they come back? Like there's been a lot of stuff said, right? Like, which is really interesting. They say like a future generations, like our babies could potentially look like what our future generations would look like, which is bigger eyes, smaller lips, right? Like you kind of look at babies to kind of get an idea. Now these beings, they have big eyes, no lips, small slits for noses, and they communicate telepathically. With all this telepathic stuff going on nowadays, more stuff coming out, remote viewing. Do you think these are time travelers? And what's your opinion on time travel? Because I find the idea of time, I tried grasping it. I cannot comprehend no time. I can, but it's weird. It's hard for me.
Well, you have to think about it like as much as time is a universal law, we're the ones who made that.
Yes, just like clocks, but
and we made the way to keep track of it. But like, dude, when I did Gateway, one of the first things that it explained is like time does not work here in the way that you process it, which I didn't get much more clear answer on, but it was trippy, dude. Like I remember I was drawing everything I saw in Gateway for a long time, and one of them was like people like underground and they had giant eyes. I saw that drawing somewhere. You just made me think about it. I've never even put that together, but
I think there's stuff under the water and beings under the water. You know what's weird? A lot of them look like dolphins, and dolphins have really big brains, like as big or bigger than ours. But I feel like they're kind of shiny and they kind of look dolphinish to me, bro.
Very interesting. I've never even thought of that before.
And you see them coming out of the ocean a lot of times. And so, I mean, you know what's weird? They say we haven't explored more than 5% of the ocean. Now, I call total I feel like they know some stuff. We've explored space, but 5% of the ocean. Now, if you look, now these are depictions, right? A lot of them look like dolphins, bro. Like dolphins and like sea creatures, and the drones are coming out of the water. You know what's weird? There's dolphin assisted birth, like dolphins, like in certain places, they take women, they're pregnant, and dolphins come, and there's something about how they communicate, like the frequencies, the radio. I'm sounding crazy, but this is like legit, actual like science, and they help the women give birth. Now, dolphins.
No, it's not crazy. Everything's vibrating matter, and vibrating matter will have an effect on something else. Do you like cats?
I actually don't. I like dogs a lot. There's some cats I like, too. But like, I don't know. Like, this is probably going to make me sound bad, but like, I feel like I don't get along with a lot of cats, but I feel like cats are very in tune to things, which is weird to me. I've seen cats look at things, play with things that aren't there, and it's
Dude, my cat does that all the time. It used to wig me out until I did Gateway. Nothing wigs me out anymore after that. But when cats purr, it is a frequency that promotes your body to heal tendons in a way that it would not do it naturally.
That makes total sense.
Those frequencies and vibrations affect things so much. I mean, I am vibrating matter right now. You are too. Our phones are. Everything's vibrating. You just can't see it.
A lot of it is unseen. You know what's also weird about cats? I read something that, like, cat ladies, a lot of people get obsessed with cats. There's something about that, some hormone or something about their hair or something. Like cats can make people addicted to cats. I that's not verified, but like
toxoplasmosis.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I believe that's it too. I might be wrong, but yeah, dude, it's like a disease that cats give off, so rats won't be afraid of them. The rats will be infatuated with the cat, so it can just walk up and grab it. I probably have that. I love cats, dude. I probably have that.
Do you have a bunch or do you have one?
I have two.
Okay, that's
just so my cat has a friend. But like, dude, one of them sleeps right here and the other one sleeps under the covers, like right under it. And if I roll over, they'll both like get up and like come back to like the stomach side so I can hold them. It's hard not to love them. They're like the sweetest animals ever.
I love when cats love me, but what's weird is a lot of times cats don't like me, but dogs love me. Dogs. So I was at a bar once. This is like maybe a few months ago. I wasn't feeling too good. I was going through a bad time, so I'd go drink by myself in the city. And I was at the bar, and this man came in with his dog. Out of all the people, I don't know, he came and he sat with me for hours, and he wouldn't leave. And I love that. So there's something about dogs. But I feel like there's something to cats. They just don't like me, but I think they see things. And I wish there was more on that. I forgot where we were with like time travel. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, these off-topic conversations are really good. This is going to be a good episode for sure.
What do you think about astrology? So I'm a Virgo sun. I don't know if you're too much into it, and an Aquarius rising. And I didn't used to believe it. I looked a lot into it, and I posted a video about it. And a lot of what that woman did about my reading, and a lot of the stuff I see is accurate. Like they say, like my heart and they were like, oh, like, oof, oof, oof. Like you're thinking it's like my heart and my emotions fight. And I'm very logical, but I have a lot of emotional placements. And they said, you probably have a really hard time finding a woman. I have been single for 26 years, bro. 26 years. Now, I don't have a hard time attracting women. I'm just really awkward. I'm not even awkward, bro. I get along, but I just can't take that next step. It's like, I want you to do it. I want to be the girl version. Like you come to me, right? Like I don't want to do all the stuff. It's weird. I'm so weird, bro. I'm weird.
I hate chasing women, dude.
And I get along with like Aquarius people really well. And I have a lot of Aquarius in my chart in Virgo. But like, what are your thoughts on it? If you know anything, what's your like zodiac sign?
I'm in Aries. I know that. Everyone always says I'm supposed to be an asshole, and I get kind of sad, but no, I am.
I don't like the whole racism astrology thing too. It's a little much like, you're this sign.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty funny. But no, it's interesting. Like, I remember the first time I got introduced to it, I was with my friend in high school, and he was a really cynical, just, like nihilistic to the max, just no meaning to life. My actions don't matter. I'll do whatever I want. Like, really sad way to look at things. Glass was always half empty. He's calling bullshit. This is stupid. They read mine. It was really accurate. I'm
Astrology?
like, yeah, I'm like, read Kenny's, and it's like he's going to. It basically says like this is like a very cynical person who can't see the good in things. It was dead on, dude. It was so funny. I was.
A lot of things like I found out. So you're not, because I was reading it the wrong. Do you know your rising sign? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Your rising and moon. I'm
I
curious.
have no idea.
So you're not supposed to read your horoscope based off your sun sign. You read based off your rising sign. That's where it starts. So when you read your horoscope, it's not for Aries. It's for your rising sign.
I think it's fire.
So for me, my rising is Capricorn, but I have Aquarius in the first house. So my thing flows like my chart starts at Aquarius. So I'm not going to read for Virgo. And if you look into it, like there's certain things like I used to think like, oh, these predictions aren't playing out. Jupiter, if it's at a certain sign, like your second house, if something's transiting your second house, if it's Jupiter, you could make a lot of money that year. Fifth house, love and romance. It's crazy, but yeah.
Well, I guess that is interesting now that you say that, because like I was born the year of the dragon.
So I just want to know your rising so I could like kind of like know like how it goes down. Like then I can tell
my
like
birthday help with that?
Your birth time and date. I'm telling you, bro, if you know your rising sign, if you look into this, you are going to be shocked. It tells you a lot about yourself. Okay. Sun in Aries, moon in Capricorn. Okay. What's your rising sign? I'm curious. Your ascendant is in Libra. Okay. Second house, Scorpio. Third, Sagittarius. Fourth, Capricorn. Fifth, Aquarius. Interesting. So it says your emotions, your moon, which is your emotions, is in your fourth house of family. Mercury and Venus, communication and love in the fifth house of romance and creativity. Interesting stuff. Okay. So now,
you gotta translate this for me here.
So, okay, let's look at the houses and the signs, right? So the first house is the ascendant. It's how you come across. So it's not Aries. You're going to come across like a Libra. So like I have to Google what Libra ascendant comes across like, but Capricorn, like my ascendant comes across like responsible. But I have Aquarius. If you have other planets or signs in the first house, I have Aquarius, which is really crazy, right? So Libras are known to be beautiful. You're a handsome man. That makes sense.
Oh.
Second house, yes, sir. Second house in Scorpio. Scorpio is very intuitive, deep, secretive, mysterious. A lot of secrets. And the second house is the house of money. Third house is Sagittarius. That's a fire sign. Don't know too much. Fourth house is Capricorn. So when it comes to home and family, it says you are kind of rigid, responsible, like kind of like focused and driven. And then fifth house, which is romance and creativity, Aquarius. So you're very eccentric in that regard. Kind of like that's where your genius is, like the fifth house, romance, creativity. Sixth house is the house of work. Pisces is emotional, dreamy. When it comes to work, emotional, dreamy, maybe a little delusional. Seventh house.
Dude, dead on.
Seventh house is the house of relationships. Your seventh house, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh house is where your sun is. So that's important. Your sun, Aries, is in the seventh house, the house of relationships. Now, Aries, like, again, this is just like typical stuff. There's a lot more that goes into it, but on a broad basis, Aries can be like immature, fiery, like, fighty. And that's your seventh house, the house of relationships. Eighth house is Taurus. So Taurus loves luxury, laziness, like relaxation, food. So the eighth house is the house of other people's money, debt. It can also be sex. So I don't know what that means. And your ninth house, I think, is short-term travel. That's Gemini. I don't know too much about ninth house. Now, 10th house is the house of career, your MC, your house of career, and that's Cancer. That's a water sign. Okay. Cancer is also known to be emotional. I don't know too much about Cancer. Now, 11th house is the house of friends, and that's Leo. So you're very outgoing in friends and groups, and you love attention, and you love giving attention, and you love receiving. And 12th house is Virgo. Now, there's you can compare your chart to other people's charts, and I get along with Aquarius really well. Most people don't. I have Aquarius in my first house. So when people see me, they relate if they're an Aquarius sun. So if you come and you find people that have Aries rising, you might know their sun sign, not know their rising. You'll find, if you look into it, a lot of times maybe you'll get attracted to and get along with people that have Aries risings because you're an Aries sun. Or people with Libra suns will like you because you're a Libra rising. But your 12th house, the house of secrets, is Virgo. I'm a Virgo sun. We're discussing secretive stuff. So I have a Capricorn rising. Your 4th house is Capricorn, Aquarius. Interesting. Okay. And then there's also degrees, right? So there's a theory that the degrees line up with like the certain age where things might happen. So by the way, Jupiter, certain planets transit faster, slower. Again, this is like pseudoscience, they say, but Jupiter is like luck and abundance. So in different years, Jupiter is transiting through different signs. Let's say it's transiting through Libra one year, and Libra is your first house. You could receive abundance, focus on your image. If it's your second house, you can take advantage of that because that means money can come easy to you. And then as something is transiting your sun, okay, let's look at today's current planets, right? I want to see. Do you know, like, okay, which signs do you know who you get along with, who you don't? Have you ever noticed or asked?
No, dude, I haven't done too much looking into this.
Okay, so, and then there's
but I am very intrigued.
Full moons. Let's see. Okay, where are the planets? So some things I found out right now is Venus enters Aquarius on December 7th, and you have Aquarius in your 5th house of romance and creativity. So it's possible that your house of romance and creativity could be highlighted and stuff could be going on there. And then the major transits, Mercury is not major. Venus enters Pisces, Jan. Second, where's your Venus? Oh yeah, I didn't look at your planets. Oh yeah, the planets. We looked at the signs. Venus is the planet of love, right? You have Venus in your 5th house of romance and creativity. So you could love or find love through romance and creativity somehow, somewhere, doing something. Mercury is the planet of communication and thoughts, also in your 5th house of romance and creativity. There's something related to romance, creativity that could work with your mind, work with love. You can meet people in such spaces or doing such things. It says moon in the 4th house. So moon in the house of home and family, sun in the 6th house of work. Let's see.
Dude, that was trippy. You said some stuff that lined right up with what I heard in Gateway.
Yeah?
Oh, what a trip.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. VII. Okay, so Mars is the planet of aggression and getting stuff done. You have Mars in your 7th house of relationships, and I have a lot in my 7th house. So Mars is like aggression. The main ones are Mars and Venus. Venus is love. Again, 5th house, romance, creativity. Mercury, your thoughts, the way your mind spins, romance, creativity. Mars, you take action when it comes to, seems like relationships. And Jupiter, the planet of luck, also in your 7th house, luck and abundance in your 7th house. Interesting. So maybe something to do with relationships and people and your luck and your abundance.
Dude, hell yeah. Olivia Rodrigo, if you're listening, hit me up.
You never know. I feel like something just tells me things are going to happen for you. I just know it. So 8th house.
Dude, I can feel it in my bones. Like it's been leading up for like a year, and it's I've never felt this before, but I can feel it like deep in my bones. Like I know whatever I'm doing is about to like pay off for the rest of my life.
People call you cocky for saying this, and it's not cocky. It's not cocky. It's confidence. Some things you just know, and some things I know about you. When I spotted your account, there's some things you just know, right? And I can tell you, I know that you're going to pop off. I don't know how I know. Now your 8th house. Okay, VIII, Saturn. Okay. You might have challenges when it comes to other people's money and secrets a bit, which is not a big deal. Saturn is lessons. Uranus is the planet of like intelligence, like wild stuff happening, kind of. That's in your 4th house of family. So could be a lot of craziness, erratic stuff, eccentricism. Neptune in your fourth house of family, dreaminess, delusion. Pluto in the second house. Pluto is birth, death, and rebirth. Wherever you have Pluto, there's a lot of rebirth and changes in birth and death and transformation and transformation. That's in your second house of money and resources and assets and wealth. A lot of transformation. Lilith lessons in the third house. Your north node, so there's the south node, which is what you're leaving behind. Your north node is your destiny, is in your MC. Your destiny is in your house of career, and your house of career is in Cancer, and your destiny is in your house of career. And then,
so what does that mean within Cancer?
Cancer is kind of like an emotional watery sign. There's, from what I can gather from a base, is like when it comes to career, you are like watery. You're not like too aggressive. Cancer is kind of like, to me, like also like dreamy, like Neptune. Now there's trines, there's good things. So sextile between Sun and Neptune. Dreamy, inspired, sensitive side to you. Trine between Sun and Pluto. Sexual vitality and passion. Not much scares you. And let's see with your moon is in Capricorn. So when it comes to moon is emotions, emotionally, you could be kind of trying to keep your emotions underneath and not show them, and like just like try to suppress it. Capricorns are known to be like very like, man, like I have to get this done, like responsible. So when it comes to your emotions, you can be that. Now let's see what house you have your emotions in, because I have moon in my first house, so my emotions show a lot in my face, and it's Aquarius, so it shows like crazy. You
can only see it in my eyes, dude. I've dated girls that got mad because they're like, I can't read your face. Like, you don't show much. I have to look in your eyes to tell.
So your moon is in Capricorn, and what house is that? Your moon is in the fourth house. So your emotions are kind of tied into home and family too. And then your sun is in the sixth house. So, okay, your sun is actually in the sixth house, not the seventh house. So, like your inner self, like your core, think of your soul, is related to the work and services that you offer. So that's important. So you do have to kind of focus on, I wouldn't say your work, but like what you want to do in life. Like that's kind of tied into your soul, right?
That's what I'm doing right now, dude.
Helpful, concerned, detail-oriented, observant. There's a dreamy, sensitive side to you. Now, whatever you have, again, I find the first house interesting, because if you have planets and signs in the first house, like I have Capricorn, right? But I have a lot of Aquarius and Neptune. So I come across as like delusional. Aquarius, like kind of crazy. Aries with ascendant Libra. Now, they say you don't want to show your chart and stuff to everyone. That's on, like, I posted my chart. I don't believe that stuff, but yeah, we're not going to go like super deep into it. But was any of this stuff kind of like,
dude, a lot of that hit like pretty hard. I was surprised. That's why I got so intrigued. I mean, dude, there's so much stuff about Gateway and things I've been told that I won't talk about for lots of good reasons. But like a lot of that stuff you just touched on without even knowing it. And that's trippy.
So your thoughts are tied into your creativity, which kind of makes sense with what you do, right? And your intellect. Sextile between Mercury and Jupiter. Okay. There's some good stuff going on here. So let's look at the love side. Your Venus is in Pisces. So when it comes to love, you can be a little dreamy and emotional, it says. Soft-hearted. Elusive. There's a lot of like love stuff. So like your beauty, a lot of it is in your fifth house. Romance and creativity. Venus, planet of love. It says you have good friends, not too much conflict. Mars and Taurus. Okay, so October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. Is Taurus your sixth house? Mars, where you're aggressive. Is VII 6 or is that 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
That'd be
6.
7.
Ah, 8. It says 14 degrees, 8th house. VIII, but 8th house, 7th house. Have you been into like a lot of relationships?
A few. I've dated like 2 girls for like 3 years each.
So
and then like
your
situationships.
abundance again and your luck and your abundance is tied into relationship and partnership. So it could mean, again, this is how I perceive it. Different people could say different things. This is from what my knowledge is, that like marriage or partnership could bring you a lot of abundance and success. 7th house is the house of relationships. So,
Dude, that is exactly what it told me in Gateway. That is something I've never told somebody before. I didn't plan on saying that, but that's dead on accurate. I was in Gateway and it said like, as you venture into being seen by lots of others, doing what I'm doing now, it said you won't really find your true success until you find your soulmate, and they're going to shield you from a lot of like the bullshit of the world, of this world.
not
basically.
only that, but success and abundance will come from your soulmate. And then the 8th house, again, is the house of deep transformation, connections, and intimacy, like secrets and transformation. That's where there's lessons for you. It also covers psychology, other people's money. So there's like lessons for you in your 8th house. And now people look at Saturn as bad. Saturn isn't bad. It's lessons. Once you overcome these lessons of the 8th house, you can turn that into something very good. And again, the 8th house is also other people's money, and whatever lessons you have there with psychology, other people's money, transformation, and finances, if you properly succeed in that, you could really grow. And that's a ladder that's going to grow slowly. Oh my God, your Uranus is the planet of like eccentricism. I can't think of the word. Eccentricity and like craziness, random stuff happening. I have that in my 1st house. So a lot of that shows on my face, I guess. But your one is in Aquarius, and your 4th house. Okay. Is your 4th house in Aquarius? Wait. Capricorn says 5th house. That's weird. Your moon is in your 4th house. Yeah, but 5th house is at 20 degrees Aquarius. So Aquarius starts, you probably will get along with Libras, Aries, Aquarius people. When it comes to home and family, now they say, again, this is speculation. There's some theories that like, if your 4th house is in Capricorn, you could marry or be attracted to Capricorns when it comes to love. Physically, you could probably, if someone has an Aries rising, you could physically like them. Gemini. Your 11th house, your friends and groups, that's where you like it. Your 12th, it's interesting because your 12th house is Virgo, and my Virgo is in my 8th house. 12th house is like secrets too, and 8th house is secrets, transformation kind of. And you're talking to a Virgo right now and discussing it, and we're Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. So your 4th house your home and family situation can tend to get erratic, lots of movements and changes again. So are you dreamy in your 4th house?
Yeah, I've lived in like 5 places in 4 years. Very accurate.
So the 3rd house was that the 3rd house of you have Lilith in the 3rd house. 3rd house is siblings and connecting with others. I don't know if you have siblings. I have 2 sisters. You don't have to get into it if you don't want to.
Yeah, I got two above me. I'm the youngest.
Yeah, same. 2 older sisters. So Lilith is, I forgot what Lilith is, but your 3rd house has Lilith, which is in your 3rd house, which is how you connect with others, short travels, community engagement. There is some secrets or hidden stuff. And again, it's all like untamed energy type stuff. Now remember, your 8th house is where you have the most lessons. Other people's money, debt, like finances and transformation. And that's going to happen slowly. And those lessons, you just harness it. Again, your abundance, though, is your 7th house. You have Jupiter, relationships, and that's very interesting. Your mind, though, like I know you think a lot. Your mind, your Mercury is in your 5th house, which is interesting. 5th house of romance and creativities, where you focus your thoughts, creativity. That makes sense.
I am thinking all the time. I can't sleep a lot because I just fucking my mind, dude.
A lot
Start
of your
rabbit holing myself.
Your thought process, your communication is tied into romance and creativity, self-expression, enjoyment. So it's artistic expression too. So the way you express yourself makes sense to me. And it can also be about love and children. So not only just like this type of communication and what you're doing here, but your thoughts and your communication is also tied into romance and children and games and pleasure and appreciation, hobbies, entertainment, not just this. But I don't know what you thought. That's kind of an okay overview, but I'm trying to look at like Jupiter turns to Gemini. So you want to look where Jupiter transits, right? That's your luck and abundance. You have Jupiter in your, what I said, was that your Jupiter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7th house, I said. So, and Jupiter is transiting Gemini, and you have Gemini in what house? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jupiter is transiting your 9th house soon, which is like short-term travel. So you could have abundance and focus when it comes to short-term travel and education and curiosity. So 9th house is not the most craziest stuff. I like to look at Jupiter and Venus. Venus enters Aries April 30th. So you're in Aries. So around April 30th, maybe, some good stuff could happen in that regard. You have Aries in your 8th house. 8th house, right? VII, was that 7th or 8th? 7th, right?
That'd be 7.
So around end of April, love and romance could come in. You could start to have more luck in relationships if you focus on that around April 30th and after.
Oh, dude, I'm all for that. I have not put any energy to that in like a long time.
Use it as a guide, bro. So your sun, so Libra is like, look at it like this. Libra, 1st house. Libra is October, right? So your 2nd house would be November, which is Scorpio. And you can look at where things are transitioning and kind of get an idea. Sorry, I held you up for so long.
Oh, dude, no, you're good. It's just dark. I worked a lot today, so I can't stop yawning. That was why I drank coffee in the beginning. It'd keep me a little bit sharper than I was feeling.
It's all good shit.
All right, whenever you're done with this, I gotta talk to you for like 5.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Ethan, again for being on the show. What's your channel?
Just Ethan Frice.
Ethan Frice.
ETHANFRICE.
Again, this man is super, super brilliant. He has some of the best stuff I know. He digs deep into CIA documents. His grandpa worked in the CIA. It's all legit. It's great info. One of the best. And I really pay attention to very few, very, very, very few people. And this man and his content is next level on TikTok. So please check him out. And thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ethan.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.